Guys, welcome back to my channel. This is episode 5 of Know Your Author series, and today we have Khadijah AbdulHaqq with us. She's the author of Nanni's Hijab. She has written so much for online magazines, online publications, and currently she's working on her MFA. So let's find out more from Khadijah herself. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we have Khadijah AbdulHaqq with us. She's a published author. She emerged in the world of writing with her debut novel, Nanni's Hijab. Since then, release of her book, she has written several online publications, Sapelo Square, Haute Hijab, Patheos, and aboutislam.com. She is currently working on her MFA, and when she's in writing, she's painting or parenting. Khadijah lives in Tennessee with her husband, 2 daughters, and a cat. And let's find out what Khadijah has to say more to us. Yes, Khadijah.
Days, not much of anything. I'm not doing much of anything these days other than writing, um, being a mom. I'm not getting many outside activities in that I normally would like to do, but yeah, I'm just taking care of my household, working on my MFA, taking care of myself, trying to stay afloat without sinking, and writing new material. Um, Hopefully, and starting my publishing company for Muslim writers, men and women
Wow,
who write
wow,
children's books.
that's the news.
Yes, that's news. I started KAH LLC, publishing and design and publishing, back in December. So I'm working with a writer to get her first children's book published, and so that was a I didn't know when I was going to release that information actually, but
But you already started it,
yeah,
so
it's
it
kind of
will be good, inshallah.
you have a debut, you have a premiere. That's premiere information.
Yes, yes. And we want to know, how was your childhood? How were you as a child? You were shy or you were an extrovert? How was the
So
child
I
or the
wouldn't
girl
say
Khadija?
yeah, I wasn't a extrovert or shy. I was neither. Um, how was I? Was I naughty? No, I don't know. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I would like to think that I was normal, relaxed. I had a pretty uh, sociable child. I was social as a child. I had friends. I went to school. I hung out. Got in trouble sometimes. Sometimes I did.
Okay, okay,
So it wasn't too fancy and nothing spectacular. It's just life.
okay. Nice. And what's your favorite book or books?
Oh my God. So
It's the
my
second time
favorite,
I have this reaction from the authors because I think you read a lot.
yes,
So
oh
it's
my
difficult to
goodness.
choose.
It's so difficult to choose, but okay. So my favorite author would have had to been, and I think in different periods of my life, I've chosen a different author. So early on, of course, it was Judy Blume. Judy Blume is everybody's, especially in the States, like one of their first favorite authors, right? Um, from you have all the favorites from her. You have um, all the children. You read them for school, and everybody is introduced to Judy Blume really early on. So I would say Judy Blume as a child, and then probably Maya Angelou as a teenager and young adult. Um, then probably I would say Toni Morrison. And then I would say, oh, let's see, who else? Eric Jerome Dickey, who is an African American, he passed away recently. So he's an African American writer. He writes urban fiction. So I would have to say him as well. But if I had to choose a favorite book, I don't know. I don't have a favorite book. I wouldn't be able to
What is
choose a
your
favorite
favorite
book.
genre?
My favorite genre, oh, I would have to say urban fiction. And I definitely books about blackness and being black. But but that does not go without saying that one book that really took me on a roller coaster ride of emotions was called Hot House Flower. And so this book, it stayed in my mind for like ever. And I think outside of books written by Black authors that depict Black life, this book has probably been the number one book that stayed with me within the past 10 years because it was such an emotional roller coaster ride and there was so many surprises and twists and turns that it just kind of still sits with me. And The Seven Husbands of Evelyn. Um, it's a whole title. It's called The Seven Husbands of Evelyn. The last name beseech me. I don't remember the last name,
Yeah, me
but
neither.
yeah, that book was kind of like a page turner as well. So
That's great
and
to know. I will also check out.
yeah.
So, what is your favorite food and drink? I'm a foodie, so I always ask this question. I want to
Oh, what
know.
kind of food do you like?
Oh, I like to eat, Indian food. I like to eat Arabic food, Turkish food, Italian food. I like some Chinese, food.
Yeah,
I mean, food in general, Mexican food.
right. And so that's my problem. Why I cannot lose weight because I'm a foodie as well. And I love to travel for food. Like if I see a post on Instagram that's a place for food, I will actually make that my destination. So
We
like if
also do
there's
a
a
food
yeah, so
food
if there's a
travel.
place, I'm in Memphis now. So if there's a place, Memphis, Tennessee. So you're in Belgium, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. And if there's a place, let's say, and that's that's in the southern region of America. So if I say I'm in Memphis and there's food, and I see a post and it says, "Oh, it's in Florida." I will drive to Florida to go to that restaurant to check that food out. Like I would definitely take that
And
trip to see if it's worth the picture because a lot of times I get drawn in
yeah,
with
yeah.
the food porn and you see the pictures and you're like, oh, that looks good. And then you
I
get
was
there.
delusioned many times with that pictures. And sometimes I try the recipes and I'm like, it's not right.
It's not right. It's not right. Yeah. So I do that against my own logic because I know that the tempting is probably more than the actually taste, but I will definitely take the trip. So I will take the trip for Asian food of all sorts. I will go for Mexican. I will go for
Same.
whatever seafood, wherever.
I think the
And
only thing that connects me and my husband is like we are both foodies. We like to cook, we like to go and eat. And when we go to a city, we explore the food of the city and where
yes.
is what. That connects us
Yeah.
actually. So yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's
food
I
connects
love I mean,
people. Yeah.
there's no reason to travel without traveling eating the food. If you're not
No,
going to eat the
absolutely not.
food, stay home.
I am totally agreeing to that thing. So what is your fun time? What you think is your fun time or me time or you know,
What
your
is my
own.
fun time? So I like to travel. I mean, just like even for short road trips, which I've been going stir crazy lately because I'm stuck in the house. And so when I'm stuck in the house, I like to paint or but I would rather be outside. I would, I would prefer to be outside. But at home, I'm doing painting, probably rearranging the house over and over again. And so, um,
Yeah, I know that feeling. Rearranging the house. My
yeah,
mother-in-law, she likes to do that as well.
Yeah, yeah. And what else? And then lately I've been vegging out too much on Netflix and Prime videos. Too much, too many videos, too many movies.
Okay, that's great. Actually, I did it last year. I was total Netflix addict. And I was addicted to a point that I was like, I have to get rid of it. So 2021 is like, okay, no Netflix for me.
Yeah, I just got rid of Netflix at the end of well, I didn't get rid of it. I just stopped watching it as much. And now I just transferred that to
I have
Prime
no
Video.
control, when I'm watching because it's like one after the other and I cannot stop myself. So I start watching when my baby used to sleep at like 9:30 or 10, and I used to watch until 2:30 a.m.
Yeah, it's a sickness. I'm serious. It's a sickness. And I transferred that sickness from Netflix to Prime Video because Prime Video has all the new releases of all the movies, and I'm just like waiting for the new release. Oh, here's the new one. Here's the new one. So it's awful.
I know,
Too much
I know.
TV these days.
So this year I was like, okay, I don't even want to go near the end of the Netflix. That okay, 2021 is more for reading, more for
Yeah.
motivational videos and those, kind of stuff. So maybe next year or when I will have December holidays of 2021, then I will watch some Netflix.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. So I have another question for you. So what was the turning point in the life when you thought, I have to get published, I have to write? I am sure, I mean, the writing bug doesn't bite at a certain age, it's always there. And then it's emerging, you feel like, okay, it's the time now. So when did you discover that, okay, it's the time now?
So I feel like I've said this, but each time something else comes. Each time I know what I'm going to say with this question, but then there's something in my mind that's like, no, it was then, it was then. No, it was then, it was then. But if I had to put my finger and be more specific, around 2014, 13, 14, I started writing poetry. Well, I've always been writing poetry, but I started to want to see my poetry in print. And then a friend of mine was having a poetry slam. And so she, did an APB on, for poets. And so I said, oh, I'll do that. Let me, I'll come and I'll perform. And so, she's like, oh, I didn't know you did poetry. And I said, I never did, but this will be my first time. And so when I got there, the poets, all of the poets were magnificent. They were all great. They were just like mind blowing. But then so I almost didn't read my poet. I didn't poems. I almost just sat there and said, no, I'm out of my league. I'm not going to even do it. This is too much. But I said, no, okay, I'll just go ahead and do it. And once I did it, I got it over with and it was great. After that, I said, I want to write um, full time. Like I had already started writing, but I knew then that I wanted to write. So I was 2014, 2015, I wrote a novel during NaNoWriMo. And during that time, I wrote the 50,000, NaNoWriMo? Have you heard of it? Okay.
Yes.
So it's 50,000 words in a month. And so I did 50,000 words? Yes, 50,000 words in a month for NaNoWriMo. So I did that. And um, that was the beginning of knowing that, hey, you know what? I want to take this show on the road and do this full time. So that's when I started to see myself as having writing as a real career.
Yeah. I mean, NaNoWriting month, I wanted to do for long, but I think I did try one time. I could go to words, 2 chapters, 2,000 words, and then I stopped.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, I
very
mean, it's
trying.
there. Yeah, it's okay. It's still there in my agenda that I have to write, but I will see when I will get that bug again to write.
But I'm gonna tell you something since I've learned. This is what you have to think about NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo is like a marathon, right? You don't stop running in the middle of the marathon. You have to keep running through the marathon, right? And so it's like a marathon, but but if a person who jogs and runs, they you don't have to have that marathon to be a runner or a jogger. It's just something that you do over and over and over again. So you don't have to focus on, NaNoWriMo. You just write a little bit every day, a little more,
Mm.
a little more, a little more. Doesn't You don't have to do. I'm not sure if most runners ever even do a marathon, but so that was just the way that I got started and to see myself as a writer. But I don't think many people even see themselves as a marathon runner, and it's really drawing on you. It's a really drawing process. During the last 3 days, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I wanted to get that 50,000 words in, so I didn't sleep. So yeah, you'll get the book out. So,
Inshallah. And thank you for sharing this. It's really inspiring. And I want to know, how did Nanny came into being? Like, you choose a children's genre, and for me it's a very difficult genre. It
it
has a
is.
lot of efforts and thoughts, because it has a lot of responsibility also, because you're
Yes.
writing for children, and you are forming their thought process, you are affecting their vision. So it's a very, very difficult genre. People think it's a childhood book, but for me it's a very serious affair, to write a children's book. So how did Nanny, or the idea about Nanny, came into you?
Well, unfortunately, it didn't have all of that thought process behind it. It did not at all. However, so within the last few years, there has been within the last few years, there's been the real problem with. Excuse me, there's some sound going on in the back about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So for the past few years, on the past 10 years or so, there's just been this growing epidemic of children being bullied with their hijabs, and so there was this story in the news about a teacher who had coaxed a little Muslim girl in Nashville, Tennessee, out of her hijab. And they were in the schoolyard, and the teacher is helping her take her scarf off of her head in a circle full of all of these, all of the other students. And the little girl was just like, you can see the trauma in her eyes, and how she didn't have a fight in her, because one, this is an adult. So how does a child, deal with an adult who is an adult that she trusts, who is making her feel uncomfortable by removing a piece of clothing off of her in front of everyone? It's almost as if someone took your pants down in the middle of the schoolyard. And so that that story just propelled me to write Nanny's Hijab. Like, I literally just wrote it out, and then and one the editor, well, the publisher at the time, she asked me, "Oh, Khadijah, you have the story, the original story that I wrote with NaNoWriMo," and then she said, "I said, well, I'm not ready to publish that story yet. However, I do have this children's story. You can take a look at that and tell me what you think." And she said, "Okay, sure." And so she looked at it, and then she said, "Okay." I said, "Well, I don't have the ending, because I wasn't sure what I wanted the ending to be, because the ending was very important for me, the most of it, because I didn't want her feeling like, oh, I have to make nice with this person who is trying to embarrass me. At the same time, I wanted it to be empowering, and I wanted to show, um, I wanted the little girl to have strength. Like, I want children who read it to get strength, you know. So I didn't want them to be victimized by the story or feel victimized or to feel like they had to appease their offenders, at the same time. So the ending was very difficult for me to get to. I actually rewrote it several times before I got to that ending. But yeah, I think it came at a very pertinent time in current events.
Okay. I mean, that's great to the inspiration behind Nanny. I am so glad to know it. And also, like, how difficult was it to get it published? I was going through your blog, and I also saw that you had problems with the illustrators, to get it actually, to get your emotion and idea what is there in your brain and to see it on the paper.
So Nanni's Hijab was originally published with Haute Hijabs, um, with Papisha.
Papisha, yeah.
And so she was the one who originally was like, oh, let me see what you've written. I'd like to publish it, like that. So she published Nanny's Hijab for I think 2 years, and now I'm publishing um, Nanny's Hijab. But the illustrating process with Nanny's Hijab and the illustration process with the current books that I'm working on is very intricate because you have your idea of how you see your characters and what you see them doing and how you want them illustrated. And then the illustrator has their idea. And so trying to communicate and getting that clarity and coming to some sort of an agreement of how the story is best presented is a process. It's a tedious process, but in the end, it's worth it.
That's great to know. And the next question is, what is writing for you? I always ask every author, what is writing for them? And I get a different answer from everyone. So let's see with you.
Writing for me is what is writing for me? So writing for me is a lot of things. It's not one thing. I think writing for me is uh, activism. Writing for me is self-care. Writing for me is um, support, giving support to other writers. Um, Writing for me is a lot of things. I don't know if I can narrow it, but writing means a lot to me. From since I was a kid, writing has just been my preferred uh, mode of communication because when you're writing, you can say all of the things that you want and need to say without interruption. Like you can pour it out on paper, give it to someone or it's the person or whomever you need to read it, and they have to read it. They have to take it all in, and then they respond. They can only respond by reading what you've written. So writing is my preferred form of communication. Without writing, I probably would be mute most of the time.
No, I mean, that's what, it has to think and see what is writing for you. So I saw that it means so many things to you.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, do you have the book right now to show to our readers? Nanny's Hijab. Where is Nanny's?
All right, I'll do a poem.
Okay.
So this poem is called Fire. Love is never painless, and yours ignited an undiscerning, merciless passion that erupted and tore through my veins. You etched my heart orange and black with orange and black flames that grow with every second that I live without you. And in each moment my heart has spent away from you has been a roaring volcano, boiling with tears waiting to explode. The tracks on my cheeks are tears branded by ceaseless crying of my burning eyes, fueled by your memories of you, enraged with the fierce smokeless fire kindled by your love that you said was true. I can't escape from this hell that has set my heart ablaze. There's no oxygen, no fresh air to breathe, no newness which will set me free from an obsession from your absence that has me trapped by a backdraft of your memories. I choke on the air where you once stood, and I hyperventilate just to get a whiff of you. Your aroma, it blocks my breathing with indelible images of your yesteryear and suffocates me with stifling traces of your love. My whole being has been set ablaze by your leaving, engulfed by your disappearance. You left third-degree burns that seeps molten black lava and burns everyone who attempts to love me. There are only relics and ashes where dreams of our union used to be, and only the return of your love or death could extinguish this inferno that burns inside of me.
It's beautiful.
So that's a very intense poem.
It's
And
very intense. Yeah, it's very painful also, but it's beautiful. There is a beauty in the pain, you know.
yes, it's a very intense poem. So
I
that
always see
poem,
that when you are in pain, or you know, when you really, really feel something, and then what you write is very painful, but it's also very beautiful. You know, it touches somebody's heart directly.
the funny thing is that that poem and most of my poems and most of my writing, which I think is what differs me from other writers, is that a lot of my writing does not come from my own experiences. I've been married for over 20 years, so I've never been in a breakup. So, but I know women who've been in a breakup. So, and I know my mother and my grandmother and my cousins and sisters and how they've
But
all
you
been,
feel their pain.
and I feel their pain. I've never had anyone take off my hijab, but I can imagine if I was a little girl and someone tried to, and so a lot of the things that I write about, even in poetry, have nothing to do with me.
No, but that's okay. That's, you know,
Yeah.
I would say a poet or a writer that they can imagine so much as if it's their own pain, you know. It's also an art.
Yes.
It's a gift that's given to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Alhamdulillah.
That you can feel the pain of others as if it's your own.
Alhamdulillah. Point. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And you
Here
want to
we
read
are.
something for us from Nanni's hijab?
Sure. I sure will. So this is from the inciting incidents and Nanny hijab. So every morning, the children sat on the edges of their seats, waiting to see which beautiful hijab Nanny would wear next. All of the children loved Nanny's headscarves, except for Leslie. Leslie was a new girl at school. She sat behind Nanny in class. One day during an art class, Leslie whispered to Nanny, "I hate your stupid hijabs. They're not special, and neither are you." Nanny smiled and pretended not to hear Leslie's sly remarks. At lunch, Leslie spilled chocolate milk on Nanny's blue hijab with subtle white satin stripes. "Oh, I'm sorry," she sneered. "I didn't mean to spill milk on your hijab." Nanny looked at Leslie, then she looked at the big brown stain on her brand new scarf. She took a deep breath and walked calmly but quickly to the bathroom to wash out the stain. The next day, Nanny was playing hopscotch in the schoolyard when Leslie ran over, reached out, and snatched Nanny's hijab right off of her head. "I got your ugly hijab," Leslie snickered. "Come and get it." Leslie danced and laughed, mockingly wrapping Nanny's hijab around her head. Nanny was embarrassed and furious. She reached out to snatch her hijab back from Leslie, but Leslie threw the hijab on the ground and stepped on it. Here, take your stupid hijab. And so that's
No,
the
that gave a really nice climax, and a curiosity to know the book. Thank you so much. Thank
no
you so much
problem.
for
You're
reading
welcome.
it for us. And I wanted to tell you something. I just remembered that, in the beginning, I was not liking Mondays at all. And then it was coming your post, the Monday post, and then you were with all the motivation and enthusiasm welcoming the Monday. And you got me thinking that, that, okay, we can like Mondays also, like any other day. And it can be a new beginning. And I just thought I have to find something to look forward to on Monday. And then I
Yes,
started doing my Monday motivation coffee post, and the idea behind those posts is you, that okay, you got me to that
alhamdulillah.
motivation, that I thought, okay, I will make a Monday motivation post. It will motivate me and everyone else. So you always
Alhamdulillah,
see
I'm good.
me with a coffee, making a coffee on Monday. And then I wish everyone have a nice week.
Alhamdulillah, good job. Good job.
But I
Alhamdulillah, I'm
really
glad.
wanted to tell you, and I got the chance today, that uh, how we are inspiring people across the planet, those who are connected to us with small little things. So it's amazing.
Oh, thank you, Sana.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad
I
to be
appreciate
connected with you, and I'm so glad that I'm able to do this, interview with you, that we were able to find a
you.
slot together.
You inspire me as well. I'm doing it for myself, and I'm being selfish with those posts. I'm doing it for myself, and I'm sharing it, my thought process with the world. So I'm hoping that someone will connect with
Uh,
my thought
Definitely,
process.
definitely,
So,
people will connect like I connected, and we form our own tribe. And today is
yes,
like the
alhamdulillah.
Women's Day, and women supporting women.
Yes, alhamdulillah. Well, thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's lovely to have you. I was looking forward to it actually. And do we have a message for our readers of Nanni Hijab and who are watching the interview?
A message. Okay, so live out loud. Live out loud. Live as loud as you can, and don't allow anyone to mute you, because people will always find a reason to want to mute you. Maybe in my case, maybe it's too much. Maybe I come across as too much, and so and never let anyone discount you. Everyone will always want to shortchange you. They will always want to give you what they think you're worth. Never let that happen. Never allow it to happen. Always demand your fullness. If they can't come with respect, don't come at all.
It's a beautiful message, and especially coming on a Women's Day. I
Yes,
should have
alhamdulillah.
written it.
And happy Women's Day. Happy Women's
Happy
Day.
Women's
Enjoy your
Day.
Women's Day.
Thank you so much,
You're
for this.
welcome.
And I love this message.